Hello everyone and welcome to Japanese for Beginners with Bumi, and today's lesson will be on counting. Now let's begin. Today's lesson objective is by the end of this video you should be able to understand how to count from 0 to 1,000, which will be broken down in 3 smaller learning objectives as displayed on the screen, which are: I can count from 0 to 10, I can count from 0 to 100, and I can count from 0 to 1,000. Let's start the lesson with the simplest learning objective: how to count from 0 to 10. Once you learn these sets of numbers, the rest of the lesson should be a breeze from here. After I pronounce every number, I will take a short pause so you can pause the video and have a go at pronouncing the numbers yourself. Before we begin, I want to point out my pronunciation may not always be the best or most accurate because I'm a beginner myself. Now, let's start. 0, 0, ichi, ichi, ni, ni, san, san, yon, yon, go, go, roku, roku, nana, nana, hachi, hachi, kyu, kyu, ju, ju. Now, I'm going to take a short pause before I repeat the numbers again for you to have a go at pronouncing it yourself, so feel free to pause the video. Alright, I'm going to start pronouncing the numbers again. 0, 0, ichi, ichi, ni, ni, san, san, yon, yon, go, go, roku, nana, hachi, hachi, kyu, kyu, ju, ju. So, we've completed the first learning objective, which was I can count from 0 to 10. So let's move on to the next learning objective, which is I can count from 0 to 100. Now, to count from 10 to 19 is very simple. It is the following: ju, ju ichi, ju ni, ju san, ju nyo, ju yon, ju go, etc., etc. Do you see the pattern here? 10 followed by any number from 1 to 9 will give you any number from 11 to 19. For example, 19 is ju-q. I'm going to take a short pause for you to process what I've just said. Try looking at the explanation on the screen to see if that's any more helpful. Okay, so now this pattern is the exact same for all the numbers in the 20s, 30s, 40s, etc., etc. But how do you say 20, 30, 40, and so on? Well, it is any number from 2 to 9 followed by ju. For example, 20 is niju and 30 is sanju. This pattern breaks at 100, which is hyaku. Do you see the pattern? I'm going to take a short pause. Feel free to pause the video for everyone to process the information I have just told them before we move on to the next slide. Just to let you know, after learning numbers 0 to 10, 100, etc., etc., you have basically mastered all the numbers if you are able to understand the pattern. Finally, we are on our third and last learning objective. I can count from 0 to 1,000. Now that you know how to count from 1 to 99, all you need to learn is how to say 100, 200, all the way up to 1,000 to complete this learning objective. Unlike the other numbers before, there's no pattern for you to follow. You simply need to memorize this number set. Like during the other pronunciations, I'll take a short pause after pronouncing each number so you can pause the video and practice your pronunciation along with me. So let's begin. Hyaku, hyaku, ni hyaku, ni hyaku, san byaku, san byaku, yon hyaku, go hyaku, go hyaku, ropyaku, ropyaku, nana hyaku, nana hyaku, hyapyaku, hyapakyu, kyu hakyu, kyu haku, sen, sen. So, now that I have said all the numbers from 100 to 1000, to now be able to say, for example, a number like 282, you add 282 together. So all you have to say is ni hyaku hyachiju-san. That's adding what you've learned on this slide today and what you've learned on the other side previously. So this is how it works for all numbers from 100 to 1000. So now you should be able to count from 0 to 1000. Quiz time, but before we start, may I just say that in the previous slide I actually said 283 instead of 282. Okay, so now I'm going to quiz you on the contents of this video. So pause the video in a moment and see if you can say all the numbers on the screen. Write them down if you find that more helpful, and we'll reveal the answers in the next slide. We've now come to the end of our lesson, so let's do a little summary of what we've learnt today. Okay, so now that we've come to the end of the lesson, I'm going to read out the learning objective and see if you've met them all. I can count from 0 to 10, I can count from 1 to 100, and I can count from 1 to 1000. Have you met all the learning objectives for this video? If not, like I said before, feel free to go back and start from wherever you're having the most difficulty with before moving on to our next video, which will be Japanese cognates.